Today's guest on 10,000 Miles is the incomparable Reagan Richards. I just met Reagan in person doing this episode, but I've known all about her for a very long time through my good friend Gordon Brown. Reagan is half of the country duo Williams Honor, and she is a force to be reckoned with. Her voice is just angelic. It's amazing. She has such a wide range. As they say, she can sing the phone book. She's super talented. Just a gift, a real gift. I wish I had the opportunity back in my days in the music business to be behind the glass when we were recording vocals and she was singing. It would have been a treat. Reagan is also an amazing songwriter, incredible performer, and a bit of a fashionista as well. I got to know her a little bit better during this next hour and a half, and she turns out to just be a fun, amazing person as well. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I have. So let's dive in to Reagan Richards.
Okay, I've been waiting for a long time for this. Are you ready? At last. Okay, I've been waiting for a long time for this. Are you ready? At last, my love has finally come along. Oh, Reagan Richards, how are you this evening? Welcome to 10,000 Miles.
Well, thank you. You're opening with some old school singing there. I love it.
Well, I know that's part of your roots, so I had to do a little bit of something to try to impress you a little bit coming into the conversation.
Totally impressed.
It's good. So for the audience, Reagan is an amazing singer, an amazing artist and talent, has had an amazing career and still has an amazing career, done some great things. She happens to be a co-founder in a group called Williams Honor with my very good friend Gordon Brown, who was on a few episodes ago. This is the first time Reagan and I have actually even really talked. We did a little social media, post, hey, comment here, comment there, and some nice things. And I'm a big fan of the music. So thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Vic. It is the pleasure is all mine. Thank you. Thank you.
So Reagan, I've got to listen to your music, read about your career, talk to Gordon about it. I watch a lot of videos of some of the stuff you've done with Les Paul and Glenn Burtnick and the list of others. But this is about you. So why don't you tell the audience who you are and what you're doing?
Oh, gosh. Well, Reagan Richards, and it's funny because I think about when I actually sit down and think about what I've done, what I do, who I am and all that, it can get a little crazy, I grew up with parents that were in the industry somewhat. My mom was a big band singer. My dad was in the fashion business. And I really just got my my love of music from both of them. And so all these years, my entire life has just been stepping stones to get me where I am right now. From, just singing in random places, singing on the radio, which we'll get to later on. But every step of the way has just been an incredible moment, and it's brought me to where I am right now. And that's singing country music, which again, we'll delve into how that all happened. But yeah, I mean, I've just, writing songs since I was, 5 years old. And that's always a funny thing. There's always a song somewhere in my, if somebody's talking to me, I'm thinking, wow, that was really good. And I might have to excuse myself and write something on a piece of paper, or, before there were phones, it was like writing it on whatever you could find, and that's just really what it's about. Just, music is universal. Music is communication, and just with us, just, social media and sharing, if I was Reagan Richards, working in a cubicle in Union County, New Jersey, we might not know each other, but, it's music that has brought us together, and, that's what it's all about.
That's great. So song at 5 years old, what was the name of it?
Count Me Out.
Count Me Out.
I don't want to count me out, parenthetical. I don't want to be in pictures. And believe it or not,
wow, that's a big title for a 5-year-old.
it was. And what is so funny about it is, went to my grandmother's funeral in I want to say it was in 1998, and my great uncle came up to me with a cassette tape, and he said, I think you're gonna want to have this. Now, I have not seen this cassette tape or whatever, and never knew it was recorded. Obviously, at that age, I had no idea. He came up to me and he said, you're gonna want this," and he told me what it was, and I could not wait to play it. And it actually was, I mean, that was actually one of the first, I mean, I had been writing prior to that, but this was one of the ones that was actually recorded. And he wanted me to sing. He wanted me to sing Edelweiss. And I wanted to write a song. I did not want to sing Edelweiss.
Wow.
And so I said, can we write a song? And he's like, okay, all right. If you want to write a song. And I said, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to write a song. And when I come back down, we're going to sing it. And he's on the recording saying, all right. She just went upstairs, and he was from Pittsburgh.
Holy
and so
cow.
he had that very Western Pennsylvania accent. And he's like, well, she's going to go up there and write a song, and we have no idea what that's going to be about. And I come back down and I'm singing the song, and he was a fantastic singer, but in my mind, how this song was that I had just written, he's trying to sing along with me as he's singing the lyrics. But the melody I had in my head, he was not singing it how I wanted him to. So in the middle of the song, you hear me saying, "Can I sing this alone?" And he's like, "Absolutely." So I sing this song called "Count Me Out. I Don't Want to Be in Pictures. Let me be out. Let me be home so I can be alone with you. Never ever be in pictures. Let people think we're rich." And
holy cow.
What we came to realize what it was about, or we figured out what it was probably about, I was a child model. And I hated it.
You didn't like it?
No, I was 4 years old is when I started modeling. A little kid wants to go, they want to play, they want to be in the pool, they want to be, have friends. And I was with an agency in New York.
Okay.
And constantly again was, trying on things, standing still, putting your arms up to put this outfit on, now another outfit. And I hated it. And my mom, and I don't want to paint the picture that my mom was a stage model, because she was not.
Yeah.
She absolutely was not. But, it was funny because when I was doing this modeling, she said that I would be okay for a little while. And then after a while, I'd start to act up like, I want to eat, I want this, I want that. And she'd pull me aside and she's like, listen, if you put on about 10 more outfits, we'll go, we'll have a nice lunch. And she said that would get me through about 5, 6 more. And then I'd act up again. And then she'd be like, get in here. And she was like, see that wall? Your head's going right through it. Back in the day when they could say that.
Yeah, when they could say that.
Which, my head never went through a wall. But
what's in the drink, by the way? What are you drinking?
That is just unsweetened iced tea with liquid stevia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Splenda guy, but I am an unsweetened tea person.
I used to be a Splenda girl. Now I'm just the liquid stevia that I get.
I know. I get it. But I'm cheating tonight because I have a full of chemical Diet Peach Snapple.
I know a zero sugar Diet Peach Snapple. I know them very well. Very well.
It's good. I did a podcast before this one, and we had alcohol.
Listen, hey, we're not. The night is young. We don't know what this is going to end up being. We don't know what this is going to end up being. It could be.
So whatever happened to Count Me Out, I want to be in pictures.
I'll tell you, we have played that. On various. When we did our Willie Ho show, which I'll talk about later, and when we did our full, we did a full album release of X, a very private. I shouldn't say private, but it was a really intimate show. And we actually played that recording of that. It's just funny, but we said that we think that to count me out, I don't want to be in pictures. We figured out that that's probably because you start to think back like, why is the 5.5-year-old singing "Count Me Out, I Don't Want to Be in Pictures"?
Crazy.
And then we realized that's probably what it was, because I wanted to be at home with my family or my friends and playing, and it was probably all they would probably say, one more picture, one more picture. So my mind probably was, count me out. I don't want to be in pictures, so,
Crazy.
and I'll tell you, you think about it, you're writing a song at 5 years old, and they say, write what you know. And obviously at 5 years old, that's what I knew.
That's what you were
I knew
doing.
that was a big deal at that time. And I was like, is this life? Is this what life is? I mean, it's funny. So, and that kind of carried me through. And I've never stopped writing what I know, or writing what I see, or writing what, I sort of, you can create a scenario that you see. And well, if that person was a little bit different, well, what if that person was, and that's the beauty of songwriting.
It is the beauty of songwriting. I spent some time in the music business, and
Yes.
I'm going to share something that happened to me and want to see if it ever happened to you. I came out of it in a good way. No, I wasn't addicted to drugs, so I'm not gonna ask you about that. But I was just a guy that loved music, played guitar, played piano, learned to play drums, played bass.
Wow.
Got pretty good at the keys. I had a recording studio in Westfield, oddly enough, where you were at Arcanum Hall with
very
Nadine.
well.
Like,
Yes.
like complete mind blowing, right? So
yes.
I was on the second floor above the coffee shop, by the way.
Oh, wow. What a
so
building
when you came
that
up,
is.
oh, the building was just crazy. And I have pictures on the same roof that you have pictures. I'll find them.
I remember when she showed me her photos, I said, well, where was this taken? And she said, right on the roof.
Yeah,
I was
right on the
kidding
roof.
me.
That zero edge, off the front, was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when I started really doing it for a living, I found myself finding a little sense of desperation. Like if I didn't write a hit, I had publishing deals. I was a BMG writer for a while, and then Polygram, and had to have so many cuts, and like it was a job and quotas, much like being a salesperson.
Sure.
And it stifled me. It stifled me. It was, the quota for songwriting became, and it was a muscle. We wrote and recorded song every other day.
Yeah.
Write it on Monday, record it Tuesday, mix it Tuesday night, start again on Wednesday, write another song. There was no crafting. It's like a freaking machine, How have you managed to do that? The need to be prolific, the need to enjoy and love the things you want to write about, and, rather than dissecting something, but having a feeling that you really want to get out, and keeping the love. Because there's one thing I could say, at least I believe it, and I hope it's true. Like when I see you perform, I know you love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think you could fake that.
No, you can't. You can't. And with anything, whether it's songwriting, performing, anything like that, you can, like they say, you can fool people some of the time, but you're not going to be able to fool them all the time. And you could probably do it for a little while and get by, but after a while you'd be miserable if you're trying to fake it. It's funny, writing songs, it's like there's two different ways to look at it. For example, Nashville, which I know Gordon probably, I know he's talking into this, I'm sure you know about it, is like Nashville, you'll have the scheduled writing sessions,
Yep.
On the road, it'll be okay. Here's your 10 o'clock, here's your 1 o'clock, here's your 3 o'clock. And although I've done that, and I have gone from this session to this session to this session, I don't want to say I don't like it, because anytime you get to be in a room with somebody and you never know what's going to come out of it. So I certainly don't want to say that I don't like that. And some great music has come out of it. For example, No Umbrella, the song that William Donald had that went to 27. That was the first time we had met Cindy Thompson, who's a co-writer on that. And that was one of those, okay, that's our 1 o'clock session. And we got in there and we just started talking for the first hour, just about life and never. I think we might have even come in with some titles, and we didn't even bother to look at them. We didn't even look at what we brought in, because from talking and just getting to kind of know each other and talking about certain things that were affecting us at that moment, or something that had affected us in our life, we just came up with this No Umbrella. So I don't want to necessarily poo-poo the writing session. Well, it's my 3 o'clock now.
Yeah.
But
Be inspired.
Right.
Ta-da!
Well, and it's funny you say that because,
but it is a muscle. You've got to exercise it.
Yeah, Skip Ewing, who's the head of the publishing company, right before we were writing, he ducks his head and he says to us, "Write a hit." And I mean, it's like it's kind of that's just kind of like one of those things you say, but then you think, oh, I hope so. Well, and the funny thing is, for all intents and purposes, it's like we wrote something that people really responded to, and it got some attention, so it's great. But I don't really like to put pressure on myself. Like there are times like even now, we have, and obviously speaking to Gordon, I mean, how many songs he's had written, and even meeting him, when I met him, I had never been, and I might be jumping around a little bit, but I had never been a Mr. Reality fan. And I don't say that in a bad way. It's just that I was not part of that scene down there. I had friends who knew who they were and loved them, but I never knew the songs. I never really knew anything about it. And then when I met Gordon, we were kind of connected and teamed up with each other. And I'm like, oh, you're the Mr. Reality guy. And I remember we were doing this, the Mark Ribler Restore the Shore show, and a friend of mine, one of my dear friends, was in the audience who happened to love Mr. Reality. Okay. And I remember texting him from side stage saying, hey, the guy that you loved, Mr. Reality guy, is on this show. And I remember him writing back, he's like, no way. But just meeting Gordon and knowing his catalog, which I started to delve into when I met him, but I really didn't get into it. I really did not delve into it, in a big way until the pandemic, when we were doing our live stream, and we were sort of, we like to keep it what we were doing, mostly original songs, although we did have a lot of fun with doing covers every week. But I started really delving into a lot of his material because people would request it. They'd say, hey, can you do 4th of July? Can you do Mr. Reality's this or Highway 9? And so I'm like, well, let me get into it. And I have to say, I actually felt kind of ignorant that I had not delved into it earlier, maybe in the first 3-4 years that I had known him. And Gordon will kid around and he'll be like, yeah, you should have gotten into that. How do you not know that? But no, he's very, very humble about that. But so when I met Gordon, it really, I just knew from the few songs that I heard what an incredible songwriter he was. So it was really awesome to really join forces. And so when we did that, all of a sudden now, I just felt like there wasn't any pressure, because all the ideas that I had then, we just go to town with them. I mean,
nice.
That's what's so great. Like our road trips are, because we have done a ton of traveling, and it'll be, we'll see a sign on the road and it'll inspire something. So there's always something. I mean, phones are filled, papers are filled, backs of bank statements are filled with things. And, so we try not to have that pressure. I won't allow myself to have that pressure, because the moment you feel that way, it's always like when you're rushed to get ready to go somewhere. If you're rushing to get out the door, you're going to forget everything. You're going to leave the stove on. You're going to forget your this and that.
Wait a minute. You know my wife? I didn't know you guys had met.
See, and I feel it's the same way with songwriting. If somebody says to you, you have to do this right now. Sure, we can. And we have. And we have. But at the same time, it's much more fun to just have it be organic and have a situation just get you and just run with it.
True or false? You were classically trained.
Absolutely false.
Oh, okay. The internet's got that wrong about you.
Really?
Yeah. So did you have any vocal coaching throughout your career?
None.
Not one bit. So all your chops come from influences, and did you study other, I've heard you do Patsy Cline.
Yes, my mom, Patsy.
Yeah, there you go.
Girl, my pillow. My Patsy girl. No, my mom was a big band singer. And she sang, she actually sang with Les Paul.
Okay.
Back in Pittsburgh. Oh, my dog just decided he wants to get on the show.
That's okay. We love the dogs on the show.
You just jumped right in there. He would do this on the live streams. He would always have to get in there.
No, that's perfect.
My mom and dad were both from Pittsburgh. The only reason why I ended up in New Jersey was because my dad was in the fashion industry and he was transferred to New York City.
Okay.
And so when he was transferred, they were going to get a place either in New York City, Long Island, New Jersey, or Connecticut. And they picked New Jersey. And that's why we ended up here.
Nice.
But my mom was a big band singer, and there was a club right outside of Pittsburgh in a town called Monroeville called the Holiday House. And Les used to come to town there. And after he was no longer with Mary Ford, she was a singer there at this Holiday House, and she would sing with him when he would come to town.
So cool.
So years later, when he would, have his show here, she would always talk about him, and she always say, we gotta go see Les. Gotta go see Les Paul. Okay. I finally, after I had moved away, I came back to visit for a little bit, and I said, okay, we'll go see Les. We go see Les. Before the show, we get in at the sound check, and she starts talking to him, and the two of them, they just start talking about all their friends. They had a very dear friend. His name was Hugo, and they were talking about him. And then she said, "This is my daughter, and my daughter sings." And he said, "Well, she's anything like you." He said, 10 o'clock show tonight. And so literally he just,
Nice.
I was going to sing that night. So we talked about what song we were going to do, and got on stage. I sang with them, and then after I'd sung the first song, he's like, "Do another one." So they, you know that, okay, you must have liked the first one, and and then you would smile. Like, there's pictures of us where he's smiling at me, and it's really, it was a good feeling. And then after I was finished, his son said, "You're now officially part of the Les Paul family."
Man, that's amazing.
And I was, that was in 2005, and I was, playing with him, shows at the Iridium, on and off shows at the Iridium. We did something, I got involved with him at his 90th birthday year.
So cool.
Yeah, so we did Roseland Ballroom. I did a show with him. We did something out in Los Angeles at the Gibson Amphitheater. We just did a bunch of things, and until he died in 2009. So
Les is known for just popping people up on stage. My good friend Tony, musician, rock guy, played in a bunch of signed artists, spent 10 years on the road with Dee Snider from Twisted Sister after he left Twisted Sister. But Tony has a music school. He still has it. He's more of a figurehead than an active participant. He has another business. But he would put these trips together. I mean, they had 400 or 500 students at this school. So he puts these bus trips together. He's like, we're going into the city. We're going to go see the legend himself. We're going to see Les Paul play. So he doesn't call the club in advance. He shows up with 75 people. They got a bus outside. And now all of a sudden there's 75 people want to knock at the door in this tiny, small club.
Right.
So they're like, you didn't want to call? So they go in, and Les comes out on a little stage there, and he looks around, he's like, whoa, where's, he does a few numbers, right? And then he's like, where are all you people from? The Music Academy, Toms River, New Jersey, right? And they're like, what? Who's the leader of this tribe, or something like that? That'd be me. I'm the founder. You play? I play guitar. Come on up.
Yeah.
So he's like, these guys have amazing chops. I'm not a big band guy. I'm not a jazz guy. I'm not going to compete with Les. And I go, blues and G. And he goes, and Les like, sure, let's do it. And they kick in, the band kicks in, and he's playing, and they've got video of it. It was really fun. But he's like, yeah, he said, and evidently Les is known for just having a sixth sense about hey, you could kind of tell if somebody's going to be good, and he just brings them up. So that's fun. That's a cool story. I didn't know that your mom sang with Les.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how you got there.
Yeah, she was, my mother was, and this all started because you asked me about my influence and about my training. Yeah. Just from the earliest as I can remember was my mom singing. My mom was supposed to, I don't know who this was because it's before I was alive. But there was George Gobel. Betsy was it was a talk show host. I guess it was like a precursor to the Tonight Show. I think it was. And his name is George Goebel, and it was a show out in Los Angeles. And my mom, they wanted my mom to be the singer on that show. So you know how like, you have the the band leader, and then you have the singer. She was actually chosen to be the singer for that, but she was living in Pittsburgh. She had my sister at the time, and moving out to Los Angeles and doing that was just not something that she was going to do. But one of the reasons why they also liked my mom for that, not only could she sing, my mom was little. And apparently George Goebel was little, so he did not want anybody that was taller than him. So and they got a girl, I guess her name was Peggy King, and that ended up being the singer for it. But but my mom, but like I said, I grew up listening to my mom, just emulating her and the records that she introduced me to, which Judy Garland, Sarah Vaughan, Vera Lynn, all those old time, old standard singers, which I just fell in love with. So, which is why I loved your opening. Yeah.
I had to come up with something good
There we
that
go.
I'd appreciate. So you have these early influences. Your mom is a singer, big band singer. You start coming into your own. Let's go past let's weave outside the Les Paul thing. Any other bands or groups before that?
Well, so that's where my dad comes into play. So my dad was the country music fan.
Really?
Big country music fan. Yeah.
So was my dad, believe it or not. New York guy used to listen to WHN. I don't know if you remember that AM station, 10 something. I forget what it was, but here's a guy from Brooklyn who used to listen to country on AM radio. And we used to freak out. We were like, oh, what is this stuff? Like, who listens to this stuff? But he loved it. Sorry, your dad was the country music guy.
And I will tell you, we just did a show a couple of weeks ago, and one of the guys that came to the show, his name's Paul, real great guy, and he had just lost his father, and his girlfriend had said, well, do we want to cancel going to Williams Honor Show? He's like, no, I have to go, because his dad was such a huge fan of country music, and he said, and again, it's a Jersey guy, and he said, I have to do this. I have to go. And I hear that so much from people, like, my dad was and it's usually the dads, which is funny. My dad was such a huge country music fan, but my dad, again, like I said, he's from Pittsburgh, and he told me that he sang Hank Williams, Hey Good Looking, and he sang that at his talent show in school, and he used to drive his car to the border of West Virginia, so that he could get the Opry in on WSM radio. He could get it in clearer there, and he used to listen to it all the time.
Amazing.
And so we would go on road trips, and we would, when I tell you, we would have, Marty Robbins, I could sing Marty Robbins backwards, forwards, sideways. I can sing it, that was our jam. We would sing that. We would sing Merle Haggard, Eddie Arnold, all of them, Johnny, Waylon, all of them, Willie. They were all his favorites. And so I really grew up listening to a lot of that as well. And then I got my hands on a Patsy Cline record, and I fell in love with not just the songs, but I fell in love with Patsy's emotion. It wasn't even necessarily like, I'm going to hit this note. It had nothing to do with perfection. It just had to do, give me a feeling in a song any day over a perfect note.
Yep.
Give me, I want to feel what you're singing, and Patsy Cline absolutely made you feel. Absolutely.
So going back to it, so you coming up, you're singing, you had all these influences. Where did you hone your performing chops? Like, how did you build that?
Well, I started doing, I would do a lot of, theater in school, I was in My Fair Lady and Annie Get Your Gun and all of those kinds of things. I remember my mom used to listen to a radio station, WNEW-AM.
I remember.
And it was, and it was William B. Williams, Jonathan Schwartz, and then Steve Allen was one of the hosts on that, which was the original host of The Tonight Show. And so I was 10 years old, and she, my mom said to me, let's go into New York. She said, Steve Allen's doing a show from one of the places in town. I said, okay. So, so we go into the city, and out of the blue, and I certainly we didn't know this was going to happen. He said, does anybody sing? Anybody sing here? And here I am, I'm 10 years old, and I go,
How many people are in the crowd?
oh, there's probably about, I don't know, 60. It was just it was a restaurant. He was broadcasting from a restaurant. Maybe about 60 people. David Brenner was one of the people that was there. I do remember that. And so I raised my hand, and he brings me up because I'm 10. I think my mom actually let me take off from school. I think because she just got the idea to do this. So I actually can remember I was the only child in there, and so naturally he calls me up, because I'm raising my hand. He had no idea, he probably thought, what's this idiot kid gonna do, and then he said, well, what would you like to sing? And I said, well, I'd like to sing I've Got a Crush on You, Sweetie Pie, which is an old song. And he says, oh, okay. And I said, I've got a crush on you, sweetie pie. I sing it, and after I'm done, he's flabbergasted. And he says, where does a kid your age know a song like that? And I was like, well, my mom. And so, I wish I would give anything to have a recording of that. I mean, it's not like it is today where you could just post, hey, gonna be on WNEW today, and you've got people sending it to you from all over. It wasn't like that then. So unfortunately I don't have the recording of it, but I would do a lot of things like that. And then I went to acting school, and I loved acting, because for a while I thought, it's not what I want to do, because I really enjoyed all aspects of it, all aspects of just creating, I used to love it when I'd be in acting class and they'd say, okay, instead of just doing this character, come up with something yourself. I loved that, so, it's kind of like that,
So you did acting. Did you do musicals?
I did. Yeah. I did a lot of those musicals. Yeah. Like I said, My Fair Lady, Annie Get Your Gun, Annie, Wizard of Oz. And my parents also, when I was young, one of the big things, my dad worked in the city. He lived right across he worked right across the street from Radio City Musical. Okay. And so he would often just get Broadway show tickets. And I remember when I watched the Broadway shows, I was just absolutely, obsessed with what these people were doing. I remember
crazy talent,
Chorus Line, and 42nd Street, and all of these shows, and it was just, I really was bitten by the bug early of just performance. And then I just decided, because I loved again, even though of course I loved pop music, as any teenager's gonna love pop music, and I really, really did. But when it came to writing and pursuing music in the way that I wanted to do it, I really connected with country music. And at the time, early 90s, there was the stations TNN, there was CMT, TNN, and then there was GAC, and there was all these shows, and we used to watch a lot of those shows. Like there was a show called Music City Tonight, and it had
I remember that,
Crook and Chase.
Yeah, I remember
the hosts, and I loved it. I just loved watching not just the well-known singers that were on the show, but this is a funny story. There was a girl, beautiful girl on the show named Lisa Stewart, and she would come on, and they would feature her probably 3 times a week. And my mom would always say to me, our girl is on. And P.S., funny story, I'm friends with her now. And I always tell her that story.
So
I was
cool.
like, and that again is the beauty of social media, how you end up connecting with people. So I packed up, and I went to Nashville for a trip. And I said, well, I went one time early on in early 90s, and I went on Music Row. Somebody had sent me to this particular guy, and he said to me, he's like, okay, he's like, go home, and he's like, I want you to he's like, you're a little young, he said to, they would never say that now, but he's like, he's like, and then he's like, I want you to I'll come back in about a year or so. So I was like, okay. So went back for 2 weeks, and somebody sent me to McFadden. It was McFadden's Publishing, which was, they kind of had given Billy Ray Cyrus his start.
Okay.
And they said, go, and I want you to go sing for them. If they bring in Joe, that was the head woman.
Okay.
You'll sing for the first person. If they bring in Joe, you know you're good. And I was like, okay. So I go over there, and I go and I sing, and all of a sudden the guy gets the phone and he says, Joe, can you come in here? And I thought I was like, this is it, you know. I'm gonna buy
Joe's
my family.
coming.
I'm gonna buy my family a second house, you know, you know. And they said to me, so I sang again, and they said, you got to move here. I said, okay. And I went home, and that was right before Christmas. This was like the beginning of December.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And I packed up, and I left in January, and I moved to Nashville. Packed up a hearse. That was the car at the time.
Okay.
Packed up hearse, put everything in the hearse. And because I'll tell you something, hearses are excellent for musicians. You got the rollers, you could just put
Oh,
stuff
wait, you're
in.
not kidding. You actually had a hearse.
Not kidding. Yes. Yes.
It's outstanding.
My
I've
partner,
never met anybody.
My partner and I, we had the hearse. We put the rollers. You just roll that strap in and out. It's great. You know,
I never met anybody that got into a hearse that got out of it.
Oh, had it for years. Had it for like 9 years.
Legendary.
I'm not
legendary.
joking. Yeah.
Holy
and
cow.
You could only fit like, and there were times when it was like, all right, my mom was so against this hearse, and she was like, you'll never see me in that. Well, guess what? One time we had to come back to Jersey to do something. She's in the front. And,
oh my gosh.
And I'm in the back. You know, but no, seriously, everything that I felt needed to go with me to Nashville was put in this hearse. And I moved to Nashville. For the first 3 months, I was in a one room, like one of those little places, you know, that's, you know, not that nice. And then I ended up getting an apartment there, becoming a server, you know, a server there, and had my apron on, and in my apron I would carry my demo.
Okay.
And I would carry my Walkman. And so whenever I'd start, and I worked at a place, it was called Sportsman's Grill, and it was right on the next street over from Music Row.
Okay.
And again, we're talking about Nashville, not the Nashville that's today. The Nashville today is LA of the South.
Yeah.
I'm not saying good, bad, and different. You know, everybody's got their different opinions of it. But this was Nashville that was still just, you know, rooted in what it was to a degree, you know.
I call it the bridesmaid capital of the South.
Oh, geez, yeah.
I mean, you know, the pink limos,
those bachelorettes are on those pedal taverns singing, man, I feel like a woman.
The bachelorette parties, right?
Oh man,
that's pretty crazy. And it's very commercial. I still love it.
Yeah,
I still love it in doses. You know, I have to go there once a year, sometimes twice a year for a business conference. And I'll stay at a hotel that's 1 or 2 blocks off of Music Row, just so I could walk up there and I could pop in and out. But I actually ran into, I don't know if you ever heard of a guitar player. His name is Daniel Donato.
Oh, gosh, Daniel, we know him. Yeah.
Okay.
He's from Jersey, but he's,
No, he's not.
What's that?
He is? He's from Jersey?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yes, he is.
Cosmic Country. I had
Country,
no idea.
Yeah. He was he's one of our drummers, Williams Honors drummers down in Nashville is a guy named Kevin McGowan, and Kevin and Daniel were roommates.
Holy cow.
I know Daniel
so
very
amazing. Well, I discovered him on Music Row. So if you're looking at Tootsie's, what's the bar right to the left of it?
Roberts, that's where he was playing.
That's where I happened to walk in. The place was not packed when it started. It picked up. And it was the first time I'd ever seen an artist get off the stage with an iPad and a bucket, make the lap.
Make the rounds.
Hey, thanks for helping out the band, blah, blah. Oh, you don't have cash? Swipe. Here's my QR code. I mean, like, there was no way you were not giving this guy money, because he had all the means of collecting cash down. Well, aside from that, which was impressive, and he was incredibly humble, the guy was just ridiculous on guitar. I mean,
he's amazing.
I mean, just really completely crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy out there, since there's only one other guy I've seen in the last couple of years who's like now the top of the heap. His name is Mateus Mancuso. You know who he is?
Yes.
Italian guy?
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's reinvented guitar playing.
Yeah.
When you have guys like, you know, Joe Bonamassa and Steve Vai saying this is a complete next level of guitar playing. I mean, those are two pretty accomplished, amazing musicians in their own right, but amazing. But that's, you know, like I still have a story that I got something from Music Row, let's say in the last 7 years, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just drunk cover songs, you know, it was
absolutely.
level of musicianship. And I love popping into Tootsies still. And, you know, who's off the road? Like this guy plays drums with this person. This is the bass player from that, or this gal sings backup for so-and-so. Like great musicians, really great musicians.
When you get down there, you have to go to Roberts on a Monday night. And there's a band called Western Swingers, and they are absolutely you're really transported back to the days, the 60s, you know, late 50s, 60s, early 70s, of Western swing, country music.
Does the guy play a giant stand-up bass?
Yes.
Does he stand on it?
No. He does not.
Okay, because I saw
Jeff Henderson plays bass in that band. There's John England is the leader of that band. John England, Western Swingers. Walter Hartman's on drums. Just an absolute experience. Not just people playing. We're talking about an experience. And interestingly enough, so John has had this band since 2001. So he's been at Roberts every Monday since then. I used to play with John in a band before he had the Western Swingers. Back in it's Rosemont, we used to have this. We used to play this little kind of like this little fun little thing. So every time I'm back in Nashville, I go and I sing with John and the guys, and it's
so cool.
It's just a really, you know, and John actually played guitar for Loretta Lynn.
So
when you're talking about all these different musicians, they're not just guys. Yeah, some of them are just there and they're but there's so many of them.
Big roots.
They have so much history.
That's
so
incredible.
much history. And that's what's great about it.
I want to tell you a little secret. So when I was in the music business, we got into writing and producing. Got lucky producing. We wrote some songs with a band that was unsigned at the time. Did some amazing demos, and they got signed to Atlantic, and Atlantic let us produce the record. And so from there began a run of lots of production, good work. And I had a music business partner who had certain skills, and I was always the one I produced the vocals. And it was my thing. I have patience for it. I would help people get comfortable and get into character or get out of character. And I was the vibe creator. I would just create this real, like, cool vibe about it. And I remember listening in headphones to Mama Please. And I'm getting a little choked up thinking about it. I was so moved by that vocal performance on that song.
Thank you.
And I think I might have wrote you a note. I think I'm going to look it up. I think I did. And I just said, you know, I spent a lot of time behind the glass, producing a lot of vocals, listening to a lot of stuff. And I'm going to steal a quote from a guy who I know who's been an engineer for a very long time in the business. He said, "Hey, I just love what I do, and I hope to be the dumb, lucky son of a bitch who's turning the knobs when the next Dark Side of the Moon gets recorded," you know? And when I listened to that song, I was envious of whoever. It probably was Gordon, if not somebody else, but I was envious of the person who sat behind the glass or in the room or with the headset on who got to listen to that performance. Reagan, that is a pristine performance and use of an instrument being your voice that I haven't heard. I hadn't been moved by a vocal like that in a very, very long time. Was that a special track for you? Did you?
Well,
Yeah.
well, first of all, thank you so much. What an incredibly kind
I mean it.
compliment. That's very, very detailed and beautiful comments. It's compliments. So thank you. It interestingly enough about that song, that was a particular song that we joke about this all the time. Gordon and I fight like cats and dogs.
He told me.
But you know, they're the fights that you want to have because they're creative fights, and it's you know, when you really believe in something, you fight for it, and I have to say that when it's all said and done, egos are put aside, and it really is for the better of the song, really. And I'll never forget the night that we actually tracked that we had a knockdown drag out, and we were in the studio.
I can't picture that.
I'm just being taken back to it right now. I can still see it plain as day.
I'm sorry if I'm causing you pain.
No. And I remember I slammed the door, and he went into the other room, slammed the door, and because we just couldn't get it together, and there was a lot of frustration going, and we slammed the door, and he came back in about 30 minutes later, and I said to him, I said, I heard the screenshot out to a house on Carson Street. And he's like, I like that. I like where you're going. I said, and I started singing back to him. And it just started to flow from there. And the arguing had gone on for so long that by the time that moment came, it was probably, I don't know, 12:30 at night. And by the time we finally recorded that, I think I sang that vocal about 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And I'll never forget where I actually sat and sang that vocal.
You sat and sang it?
Sat and sang it. And I'll tell you why. And this is really interesting. And Gordon even said this at the time. He's like, you really want to sit? I go, yeah. So when I was little, it was really strange to me when I would sing because I never wanted anybody to hear me. And I would go in my room and I would have my, I would have my stereo, and I wouldn't want anybody to hear me, so I'd have the door closed, and I'd sing all of my high notes like this.
Okay.
And so that's where, and like normally you would never think that you would hit a note, like an accordion. That's just how I trained myself to do it. So a lot of times you will see if I'm going to hit a big note, I will go down like that because that's just from an early age. That's what I started to do. Probably, I am sure a vocal teacher would say, do not do that. It's just
I knew in my gut there was a story behind that. It was just the vocal was too magical for there not to be. Like I just could, if you told me no, things were great. I walked in the studio around 3 o'clock. I had everything was great. I had 10 hours sleep the night before. No, I knew.
That was the song that
I freaking knew it.
That was the song that was the song that almost I always said, that's it. We're not doing this because we argue so much about the song and where we were going to take it. And that is a song that people really do connect to, whether they connect with the lyric or not, because it is a heavy subject matter.
Yeah.
But they just something moved them with the song, with the feeling of the song. Maybe it's just the way the vocals it came out. But yeah, I remember saying, I just went in there and I just keep singing. I keep doing these notes, and Gordon was just sitting there and he was like, okay, I remember when we were done, we probably finished it, about 6 a.m, and I'm like, heard it back, and I'm like,
we did that.
Wow, we just did that. Yeah. And moments like that, and that's really a lesson too, and not letting the frustration take over so much that you just stop doing it. You can have the frustration because that's gonna happen, but sometimes you get a gem out of it, and it really comes down to the people that you're working with. You're fighting for something, and we fought for that, and it ended up being that song.
I'm gonna change and add one. I'm gonna change one thing. I'm gonna add one thing. I would have liked to be behind the glass, so to speak, when you were saying it, but I'd like to have shown up like 4 a.m. after the fighting was done. So let you guys work on your thing. But you've touched on a great topic around partnerships.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a short story, but it's gonna come together. And I think, what you're really, you're exuding here is the spirit of what I'm about to tell. When I got out of the music business, I got into technology, and I quickly found my way into leadership roles. I had the best role models growing up. My grandfather was a superintendent of a 64 family apartment in Brooklyn. We lived there. And my grandfather, with really no formal education or training, he led the building, He was reliable, he was disciplined, he was on time, he was trustworthy, he was all of these things that great people and great leadership roles are. And so I went through my career, and I've been very blessed and fortunate to I've had thousands of people. The biggest team I led was 1,200 people, 27 cities, 3 countries. And I always knew that teams and people got things done. Like, you didn't need to be a boss. You need to be a leader. You needed to, you're supposed to lead from the front and clear the pathway so people could come behind and succeed. Yeah. And I had this person working for me who didn't have a great experience with a boss. And I was investing heavily in this person, their development, their personal development, and they were killing it, crushing it. And maybe 8 months goes by, and this person makes a mistake. I mean, we all make them. It happens all the time.
Sure.
They come into my office, tail between legs, sit down to explain to me what happened. Shaking. And I said, what are you so nervous about? You're going to be disappointed. I can't believe this happened. You're probably going to fire me. I go, fire you? What are you, out of your mind?
Right.
And I said, relationships are just like bank accounts. When you make a lot of deposits, you're entitled to make a withdrawal every now and then. And when I hear the story about how you guys fight for the music and the depth of you share creative spirit and soul, you guys are making tons of deposits. And I'm sure you had more fun than bad times. And you're creating some great stuff. Gordon being he just speaks so incredibly highly of you and your talent and sort of, all of who you are, that I know there are so many deposits there. And I love that you make withdrawals. I love it because it's real. That's life.
It's true. I mean, it's true. You can't, there's no way you can paint a picture of, everything, every day is sunny, you can't because it's not the way it is. And it's not the way it is my God, you watched the Beatles, you watched that Beatles thing that came out
legendary.
A couple of years ago. I mean, this was walking out, this was not paying attention. Have you seen the interview with Howard Stern? And he talks to Paul, and he talks about the fact that McCartney talks about how in Hey Jude, when George went up to him and said to Paul, hey, I think that after you're like, hey Jude, I should do a little guitar thing, and Paul's like, no. And it's so funny, and George was bothered by it, but Paul saw that in his mind, heard the finished product and said, no, it's not going to go. And when you think about it, if after every line in Hey Jude you heard we would be like, oh God,
completely different song.
And they did have the agreement that if it was their song, they had final say. And so that's kind of, even the Beatles, who were regarded, as one of, if not the greatest, band of all time, you're going to have those knockdown dryouts. And people that have worked closely with Gordon and I on the inside, they've some of them, we try not to make it too uncomfortable where people are like, Mom and Dad are fighting. Everybody jokes around about that,
give them space.
Right. We try not to do that, but sometimes it'll happen where, it's like, and usually there's not other people, in our writing sessions. It's the two of us, but even sometimes just like in a creative situation where we'll go back and forth, and, again, we really try to make it where, the egos are aside, and we really try to make it like what really is going to be the best outcome of this, whether it's his idea, my idea, whatever, we really, try to do that. And, too, it's like, and Gordon coming from, the band situation, obviously with Mr. Reality with Peter and Rob, and then moving on to Highway 9 and adding a couple more pieces, having that sort of that camaraderie, that brotherhood kind of gets you into being more that way. I would think. And same with me, I've done a lot of work doing a lot of backup singing work. I've joked around in the past saying that was a day job type of thing where, some backup for a lot of people. I'm in some side projects where I'm with a group of people, and you kind of really learn, just how to be a team player. And that's that. And I love that. I really do. I love being in Williams Honor. It's just creatively so much fun, and just with the songs that we write, we get to have people come up to us and say, wow, that's me in that song.
Amazing.
But at the same time, I enjoy being part of projects where I'm with a lot of people, and we're just working together very well. And just, sometimes you take one for the team because you're like, you know what, let that be. I don't need to get involved in that. There's a lot of that goes on. And at the end of the day, you just really want it to be the best performance, the best outcome, the best representation of what it is.
My time in the music business gave me the most formidable skills that translated into business that anyone could ever imagine. First and foremost, collaboration. You walk in the door with an idea and you think, you gave birth to it, and somebody wants to say, no, sorry, we're going to take one of your children and they're going to put them up for adoption, and so you're like, whoa, what's just happened here? And, and to allow my idea to inspire you to a new place, or vice versa, for you to have an idea and go, yeah, that's cool, but have you thought about this? And when you hear all these great tales about how these songs got crafted up, much like what you just talked about with Mama Please, but the Stones have it, the Beatles have it, Zeppelin has it, everybody has it. They've got these places that you've come. And also, though sometimes it's difficult, and emotional intelligence. It's okay to maybe lose your cool, but that ability to come back. So you guys slam doors, let's pull you guys right into it. And then you're in there, you didn't run out, you didn't grind, you're not running away. Right. You're kind of sitting in that uncomfortable space for a little bit.
Yeah.
This is really like I hate terms. I'm going to use it. It's like a coping mechanism for stress. Psychologists talk about it all the time. Yeah. They say, hey, if you have anxiety, don't pop a pill, don't do that. Like, don't distract yourself. Sit in it for just a minute. Yeah. Just sit in it, and it will dissipate. I mean, that's something I learned about, dealing with my own stresses and anxieties, maybe a little later than I would have liked to have learned it, because, well, it's a whole other podcast. We can talk about that. But the fact that, you sat in it, Gordon comes back in, hey, what do you got? I like that. Like, you're able to just, that's emotional intelligence.
You get a better
you get
song
great stuff. So that's huge. But I want to ask you a question. Well, not really a question, but I took two cool things away from that Beatles stuff that came out a couple of years ago. One, I felt really bad for George.
Yeah.
That dude was so insecure back in those days. Like, we said, oh, why don't you get Eric to play on it? Oh, he didn't like these guys humming guitar parts to him.
Yeah.
And felt really shot down when he wanted to make a suggestion for a guitar part, and he got vetoed.
Yeah.
And the second thing was the amount of respect that Paul had for John when it came to the topic of Yoko.
Yeah.
Blew the lid off of my head. It blew my mind. And that was real. That was, 69, I think, 68, 69 when that stuff was recorded. And to see him just basically say, hey, man, he loves her and that's his thing, and we got to respect it, and he was so sincere. I was always, of all the Beatles, I was a big Paul guy. Some people are Paul, some are John. I just like the musical sense of a Paul McCartney. Lennon was great, don't get me wrong. amazing, never anybody like him. But I was always a Paul guy.
I also really loved George. I loved the stuff that George contributed.
His songs were great, but if I had to pick one, I was a McCartney guy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny bringing it back to the Beatles and talking earlier what you had said about, where musically was I had older sisters, and my oldest sister was a huge Beatles fan.
Okay.
So in the midst of, loving all the stuff that my mom had and the country music, I remember one day in the summertime, I would go to Pittsburgh and spend a lot of my time there, because like I said, we didn't have any family in New Jersey. So anytime, there was a holiday or whatever, we'd always be back in Pittsburgh. And it's at my sister's apartment, and I got into her record collection. And I remember there was the Red Album.
Okay.
Well, got the Red Album, and what I thought was so cool about it was there were the lyrics right there.
Yeah.
And so I remember putting this record on, and I'm singing along to all these songs. And that's when I became a huge fan of Beatles. I really became such a fan of harmony, because I remember hearing, Please Please Me, All My Lovin', and I'm just like, this is just incredible. So I became obsessed with just all the Beatles music, listening to that. So that Beatles thing that came out was a big deal. And of course, the anthology that came out in 95 and all that, I loved all that stuff. And, the Paul solo, Lennon solo, I'll tell you, one of the very first things that I got, my sister had Double Fantasy. And I remember when I was really little, my parents said that I could get my own record. And I got Double Fantasy. And I was like, and I remember just listening to it. I mean, I can sing you that record backwards and forwards, including the Yoko stuff.
Wow.
I mean, which is, when you think about it, it's like, give me something that's not, come on. It's like,
Yeah. Hey, I saw a picture of you and Paul.
All that stuff. And at the end of the song, the one song where she's like, I'm like, I remember my mom going, what is that? And I was in it. And of course you had you had Woman, which was just one of the most beautiful songs ever written. And it's like, so it's just, I mean, and it is true. I think that, getting back to what you were saying, when you are a partnership, like John and Paul were, and again, not throwing Ringo or George away at all, but just talking about the Lennon McCartney, partnership, you kind of have to respect whatever it is they bring to the table. Yes, okay, John brings Yoko. She's whatever she's doing.
It was his deal.
You're Paul. You gotta go.
Yeah,
all right.
I was very, very surprised. Like the other guys didn't like it. And he was like, just, man, you got to respect it,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Paul,
and you have that in life. I mean, even I'm sure in your world, in my world, we've had situations like that, I'm sure, through the years where you're doing something and you have to look at it for the greater of what you're doing. You have to say, okay, not a fan of this person that's hanging on here, but you have to respect the person that's bringing them into the fold or whatever. And I agree with you.
How I would deal with things and people that I might not find inviting, I guess that's the nicest term I can come up with, is I have shifted my entire mindset, this probably only over the last 5 or 6 years, to full empathy.
Yeah.
Because I know, I've always, whether you think this is a flaw or not, I've always been, people are good.
Yeah.
Right. People are good. And then
Luke Bryan.
Yeah, pretty much. People are good. And all right. Yeah. And somebody used to say to me, well, you're going to have tire tracks on your back. Me, everybody sucks. And, you got to prove yourself different. I'm like, well, you're just going to miss out on a whole lot of quality people. But I really realized that when people make things difficult in your life or they're creating a bad vibe, it's not you. They have some sort of particular problem. And all of a sudden, I'd say even more so in the last 5 or 6 years, I'm just like, I feel really sorry for that person. I feel really bad.
Yeah.
They must be going through something so incredibly terrible. And that allows me personally to not take it personal.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm like, hey, it's just their deal, you know?
Process. I mean, it's
It is a
definitely
process.
But I think that, you know, it's funny, social media and just, you know, just being deluged with so many memes and reels and this, that, and the other
Yeah.
of all these sayings. I think we're now more able to have that way of thinking than maybe we were before. You know, it used to be you'd get a magazine every month and there'd be like a story about like how to let go of a person that's driving you crazy.
Yeah.
If you didn't get that, you know, that month, maybe you missed out on that article. But now everywhere you turn, there's something that can help you process that. And so I feel like in many ways, that's how social media has helped with certain situations where if you're like, God, I don't know what to do. God, you scroll one thing and there it is right there. It's showing me how to handle that person that I don't know how to handle, or how am I processing this, you know?
Let's if you don't mind, let's go back to Williams Honor for a little bit. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
One of my favorite topics. What's next? What are you guys doing?
I'll tell you, you know, again, it really is all about the songs. And with anybody, it could be a brand new artist that's just coming out. It could be an artist you've known and loved for 20 years, 15 years. That's never gotten off the top of their game. It could be somebody that has gotten off the top of their game. What makes people pay attention and light up? It's a song.
Yeah.
It really is a song. And that is what's so exciting for Gordon and myself as songwriters. We love to, it's like, a song is like throwing the best party. And we could come out, you know, and say, here's 5 new songs. And it's like 5 parties.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's us. It's what we do. And, we have, you know, we put out X. It's funny because from album 1 to album 2 was quite a bit of time, probably more time than most people take in between albums, especially for a newer band. But then again, we had the pandemic there, and we just,
it was tough.
Our record really was pretty much ready to go in 2020, but we just and we had the Willie Ho show, which the Willie Ho show was a live stream we just jumped into doing because obviously there were no shows, or there were no, you know, in-person things. We just did this show that we called the Willie Ho show. And what we started to do on the show was start to, you know, let people hear what the new record was going to have on it. You know, here's this song, here's this, and we started to get feedback from everybody.
Nice.
And so that was a really great way to kind of gauge. And so after the pandemic, even like 2021 was sort of rough because you still had people saying, well, you know, we're not really ready yet to go out yet. We're not ready to go out yet. And we knew that since it had been this long for a record, we wanted to release this in a big way. So we finally felt good about 2022. And also it's also that thing like, is a record ever really done? We have this extra time now. It's pandemic. Let's just keep writing more songs. It got to the point where I would bring Gordon more songs. He's like, next record. And I was like, please. Except there was one song that I brought him. It was a 4 a.m. write that I had, and I brought it to him, and I said, hey, I have this song. And he's like, please, not today. And I said to him, no, please, I really want to present this song to you. I think you're going to like it. Not today. I'm not in that headspace. I'm still working on finishing this, finish mixing track 7 of our record. So he basically made me wait, I would say, a good month and a half.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I'm sitting in his kitchen. It was probably, I think I
what
just
a hard ass.
Yeah. And I said, I was sitting in the kitchen. I said, please let me sing it for you. He's like, okay. So I got my voice memo out, and then I just sang it for him. His eyes lit up. He he moved like the road runner into the studio, grabs the guitar, and I sang it with, and he says that, no, what are you hearing for that? I said, this is what I hear. And I sang it for him. Do you know, and this is an interesting fact about this. In fact, I was just talking about it the other day. We went in and he played it. He lays everything down first with the guitar.
Uh-huh.
And I said, yes, that's exactly how, those are exactly the chords. That's what I hear. And when we recorded it, had my lyric that I had from 4 a.m, month and a half, 2 months prior. What you hear on that song, it's a song called First, and what is the very last song on the record.
Okay.
And what you hear is the scratch vocal. We never re-recorded it, because he said to me, he said, I have tears in my eyes hearing that vocal. And he said, I don't, and honestly, when I hear it, I hear, you know, some imperfection in it. And he says, that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
And he said,
it's the vibe.
He said,
the feeling.
He said, you could not do that any better as far as I'm concerned. He says, if you perfect the notes, you're going to lose the feeling. And I'm like, so what you hear on that is that night that
That's great.
that he came and I finally agreed to say, okay. And so he had actually closed shop on any new songs for the record, but he believed in that so much, and that is a favorite of many people. It's just it's a song, and it was you know, it was written in December, and I wrote it basically just about you know, when you're fighting with somebody and you're just you know, kind of all still and hopeless. Sometimes it's not about the apology. Sometimes it's just about letting people know that you love them.
Yeah.
Because when you have such an intense argument, sometimes when you're fighting with somebody, you're like, does this person love me anymore? Do I love them? What, and sometimes it's not about like, well, I'm sorry for this. It's just saying, listen, before we get into anything else, it's, I love you. And it was really, you know, that was a powerful thing to just be like, let's just leave it as is. Let's not go back and sing it a million times. And because it's, you know, it comes to the point too. Sometimes you can rethink things over and over that you ruin the beauty of what it was. So asking what's next, that's what we're doing. We've got a lot of you know, of course there's always shows, there's always a tour that we're looking to do. You know, there's always that perfect pairing of a tour that we'd like to go on. But even though we've got X that was just out, and those songs are still, the songs still feel new, we actually came out with we didn't come out with them yet, but we've got 2 songs that we started to tease our audience, our Williams Honor Army, which I do have to say hello to, because they are absolutely amazing friends. We don't
Great logo, by the way, for the WH Army.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you. We don't say fans, because they're friends. They're friends. They're family. They're people who, you know, let us into their lives, and we're so happy that they do. We teased a couple of new songs that we have. 2 pretty heavy songs. The one is called Gracie, and it's a song about you know, mental illness is just so. It's just something that every day you're seeing something, you're hearing something that just stops you in your tracks, you know.
Yep.
And it's really it's about being a friend to somebody that's suffering, and just kind of being there for that person, you know, and just showing
such a heavy topic.
It is, and it's just you know, trying not to do anything but to be there and let that person know that you're a safe place to them. So that's a song called Gracie that we have. And then we have another song called Signs that you know, now it's not about the full album anymore. And that's a hard thing to kind of wrap your head around, because, you know, growing up, it was about having that CD or having that record and being so excited about it. But it's just not the way it is anymore. And
it's
even
not.
though, you know, it's about people just having something right now. That's what they want. They want it right now.
There are a number of artists out there, but have completely changed the face of things over the last 10 years, and even more so in the last 2. You're right. The album is, it's almost done. independents are finding so much success with recording a song, doing a video for it, getting it to go viral, getting their army behind them.
Right.
But also being prolific. Like, you know, when they're getting fuel to do that, the next piece comes out maybe a month later or 2 weeks. Like there's constant drops of information. But I want to go back to Grace for a second, because man, you just done something so heavy, Reagan. Do you know you ever hear about the thing with the ducks and Jeeps? You know about that?
I'm not sure.
If you own a Jeep, and not a Cherokee, but like, you know, one of the four wheels with, you know, what are they called? The Unlimiteds, you know, the Jeep Jeeps, right?
Yeah.
There's like a Jeep culture. You know how like if you're riding on a motorcycle, you do the motorcycle wave, or bald guys do the bald head nod to another bald guy. Well, if you are a Jeep enthusiasts keep little rubber duckies in their Jeep. And they will take a rubber ducky and they will put it on the hood of another Jeep owner. It's kind of like spreading the good vibes of Jeep, right? So the rubber ducky thing. There was a woman who started that. She was credited for starting. It was validated decades ago.
Okay.
That woman committed suicide in July. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on this thing, but the point is that with mental illness and things, and I recently saw this thing that came out by a PhD. She had this great picture about mental health, and it was an iceberg, and the water line was here, and above the line was social engagement, productivity, smiles, calm demeanor. Everybody's la 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 happy, you know, appearing relaxed, composed, and all these things. And below the iceberg is overthinking, loneliness, sleep disturbances, depression, anxiety, exhaustion, self-doubt, you know, and then all these coping mechanisms to gotta get through all that stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't heard Grace yet, so I'm gonna find it. Is it out in a place that I can hear it?
Yet. It's not out yet. That's definitely one of the singles, but it's interesting, and just so it's interesting is not the word, but talking about that, which you're talking about, the woman who had started the duck thing. It's like one of the lines in Gracie is I never know just what to say, because you don't fake being sad, you fake being okay.
Yeah, man.
And that's really what it's about. I mean, these people will go out and they put a smile on, and you don't know. And so
did you need to punch me in the jaw tonight? Is that something you planned on doing? Because man, that's unbelievable. When we perform that song, I make sure that line, that those two lines are heard, because I think it's such a and I look right at people, because people need to hear that. People need to hear that just because their friend is the life of the party, it doesn't always mean that that's the case. That's right.
And so that's one of the songs that these two particular songs that will be coming out. And then there's another one called Signs. And my mom passed away in 2023, right around Mother's Day.
Sorry.
And thank you. And my mom, my mom was my best friend. She was
cool, from what I can see from the way you presented her. She was cool.
She really was cool. She was a buddy. She was, people that knew her absolutely loved her. And she would be a guest on our show, on our live stream, and she's just funny. She was one of those people that, she was Irish from Pittsburgh, and one of her big things, and I think one of the reasons too I love to write songs is because she was a storyteller. She would sit at the table, and that was her thing. I always tell people this, she looked like total Hollywood glam. She really did. She walked out, she always looked picture perfect, but she was anything but that. She was so sinful. She loved sitting around the table with coffee and just hanging out, and just just really just a girl's girl, and but she was her favorite holiday was Christmas, and her favorite musical artist was Bing Crosby.
Okay.
And at Christmas time, we would hear, oh my God, we would hear Benny. Her birthday was November 25th, so we would hear from November 25th until long after Christmas. We would be hearing
Bing season.
Bing and the Andrews sisters, I felt like they lived with us. I mean, Melikaliki Maka, you know, Adeste Fidelis, we had it in Latin, we had it all. And her very favorite was White Christmas, which of course, I think that was isn't that the biggest selling song of all time?
Of all time.
You know, yeah.
It's huge.
And so I just knew that after she had passed away, I knew that when I heard White Christmas for the first time, that's, you know, they talk about, you know, anniversaries and things like that. And I always knew the first Christmas without her hearing that was going to really hit me like a ton of bricks. Well, my mom, like I said, Irish girl, she'd always wanted to go to Ireland. Talked about it, you know, for as long as I can remember. I want to go to Ireland. I want to go to Ireland, and never got to go. Interestingly enough, fast forward to November 2023, Williams Honor gets to tour Europe. It was the Light of Day Foundation, and we go over there. And we've got, I don't know, I think it was 10 countries. And we end the tour in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, well.
So we're in, you know, we're in all these different countries. We're in Germany, we're in England and Sweden, Wales. And throughout that time, because it was the Christmas season, I'm hearing Christmas songs constantly. I mean, and a lot of the old school stuff, but I was never hearing Bing. That's all I'm hearing, you know, like Dean Martin, I'm hearing all these old guys, but I'm not hearing Bing. That's really strange. We end the tour in Dublin. We had just finished sound check, and I'm in the venue. As soon as we're done with sound check, so meaning I'm not distracted anymore. When you're sound checking, your head's all over the place. Done with sound check, and all of a sudden, just almost like it was just mapped out. Here comes the beginning, White Christmas, Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it. Oh,
yeah.
I heard that and tears started coming down. And I'm like, there she is.
She made it.
She's here with me in Ireland.
Yeah.
She's also telling me, I don't want you to cry when you hear this song.
Yeah.
I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
I want you to be happy that you have the gift of music. I want you to be happy to know that you're here in Dublin performing. And all of a sudden I'm like, this is absolutely what they talk about when they say signs, and our loved ones talk to us and want to let us know that they're with us.
Yeah.
We got back from the tour in December, and a song was written called Signs.
Signs. Nice.
And,
okay.
And it, one of the lines is, it basically just talks about, when your favorite song comes on in your favorite place, I know deep down it came from only you.
Great.
And,
well, I can't wait to hear these two songs, Gracie and Signs, because those stories are worth the price of admission alone. They're genuine. You know, this isn't a 3 o'clock writing session, 3, 2, 1, go. Right. This is where the greatness and the feeling comes from.
This has to be done. This has to be written.
So great.
And when we performed it for the first time, we decided to, Gordon said to me, you sure you want to do this? You sure you want to do this song? Now, we presented it in January, a month later, in New York at City Winery. And after we performed it, there was a line of people, mostly women, I will say this, line of people to tell their personal signs. Thank you for that. Thank you for that song. When is it going to come out?
Wow.
And they couldn't wait to talk about their signs. And that's why you write a song.
Yeah, that's exactly why you write a song.
It's not, yes, it's for me. Yes, it's for Gordon. Yes, it's to the writers. Yes, of course, sure. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But it's for you.
Yeah.
And it's for those people that are listening to say, that's my life. That's my mom she's singing about. Because those people that I'm singing for in City Winery in New York, they don't know my mom.
Nope.
They don't know my mom, but they know their mom. They know their aunt. They know their dad. And that's who they're thinking about when that song is being sung to them. And that's who it's written for. It's true. It's written for you.
It's a beautiful
story. That's
story.
why when you say what's next, the songs.
The songs are next. I love it. Well, that is an amazing place for us to wrap. I have to be honest with you. I have a limit on how long I talk to people because of how long the audience can pay attention. But if I didn't have that in mind, we'd be on until 4:30 in the morning.
We really would. We really would. There's so much we didn't even begin.
We didn't talk about Madison Square Garden opening for Bon Jovi. We didn't. I mean, I saw a picture of you and Paul McCartney. I didn't even find out where that was. But I would love to have you back maybe in 6 months.
I'd love to.
And I want to. Then
pencil me in.
We can plan a little chit chat in advance, and we can pick up all the topics we want to pick up. But first of all, we're bros now. Okay,
we sure
so
are.
We
this
know
is
each
great. Other. You're coming over for Thanksgiving.
Oh, even perfect. Well, I'm going to be in Mexico City this Thanksgiving because my daughter is giving birth. I'm gonna be a freaking grandfather. Can you believe this? This handsome guy is going to be a grandpa. Come on.
Oh, there you go.
So
that's what it's all about.
Big time coming up. But I'll stay in touch. Great. And I can't thank you enough. I've had the most fantastic hour, 23 minutes, 51, 52, 53 seconds.
Love it. Love it.
It was great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. I appreciate you having me on. This is
You're welcome.
What an honor. Thank you.
Have a great night. Bye.
Bye-bye.